Wait for the chat to fill up a little bit. Let's just go ahead and do this. But this is me, and I'm here in my car. And what I'm gonna do is, as you can see, yesterday I was working on this lady right here, pretty much this lady here. I did a little bit more work on her while you were away, and so this is it. So here am I in the daytime. And what I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna go ahead and have a tray, and I'm going to paint her right here for you to see. So hopefully I can get the colors right because I don't want to be too much bloom, too much like saturation. So maybe I'll put it here, right here, where you can see it a little bit better. But I'll see if it balances it better. It's maybe better. All right, so here's this here. Right. And so I'm gonna do. I'm actually gonna do a painting. My goal is not to spend too much time today, but to actually kind of do this really quickly. I'm gonna put my car keys over here. Trying to figure out what's the best angle. This angle's better. If this angle's better. You know, just trying to find the right angle. This way. Maybe this way. Oh, maybe this way. That way you don't have to see me. You can just see it. See her being painted. Let's see real quick. Let's see. Maybe better actually. I'll put it this way. Because right in front of me, I'm in the driver's seat this time. And so, if I put this way, maybe I can get it to angle better. I don't have my tripod with me for some strange reason. Can't seem to find that. You know. So I'm gonna put this down here, right there, and then I'm gonna put this here, and then so how do you see this way? I'm trying to see which is the best way. Okay, do you see it better this way? I guess maybe you can see it better this way. Let's try. Maybe this way is best. I'm gonna put it as far out this way. Just trying to find the right angle. Because the first thing is trying to find the right angle, which is a good angle for everyone to see. All right. So what I did is I have my trusty dusty I'm trying to find the right spot. All these odd shapes, you know. This way, how about go through right here? And you can't see me now, and I can't see you, but you can see it. Yeah, it's the steering wheel. If I put it like here, you can see me and it. But put it this way. It's so bright. See, the thing is, like, I have to deal with the brightness. I'll put it all the way over there. I don't know. I'm trying to figure this all out here. What's the best thing to do? Okay, so this is where this is from yesterday, and so pretty much I was able to work on making the sculpture. So I also got to switch to this one here. So I'm gonna switch to cameras. See, I use my tape rolls as camera holders, which is pretty cool. If you don't have a tripod with you, which I normally have a tripod with me, but for some reason I just can't find my tripod, so I'll have to look it up. Find it somewhere, but for the most part, what I'm doing, I'm gonna go ahead and hey, you're Ice Cube. I am Ice Cube. No, I'm more like I'm not Ice Cube. I'm great. So here's this one here, right here. This is what I'm gonna do, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and fix and paint her complete. Okay. So here I'm gonna do it right now. So this is what I have here. I'm trying to find the best angle. See if I put it like a little higher, it might be good. But let me go ahead and just start it up because you're here to see that. You're not here to see me. So let's go ahead and set it up, shall we? All right, here we go. This is the one here. Yep, hey, New York. I'm in New York City. Are you in New York City too? Well, welcome to New York City. This is I made a sculpture yesterday, and you can guess who she is because most people already know who she is. Go ahead, say it in the chat, please. And so what happens is that I'm gonna get my paintbrushes. So here's my paintbrushes. I like to have my paintbrushes there. I'm gonna have another live class next week, by the way. You guys see this here? Live class, not tonight, but next week. Yes, I made it. I made it out of masking tape. I'm a masking tape sculpting artist, and everything I make pretty much is out of masking tape. I sculpt creatures, characters, people in masking tape, and so I made her out of masking tape, and so I did it without any references. Later, I had to check for her hair because she has a little big beehive thing on her head, which is pretty much her style. But yeah, you know the character is, right? You know this character? Definitely. Thank you so much for the likes. I appreciate that. So here we go. This one here. What I'm gonna do, I'm going to get my inks. So what I have for inks is this one here. I have this ink. This is a black, right? And we're gonna paint her real quick. I also have a peach color, but you know, I think her makeup is just a bone white. So that's it. But you know, but for the most part though, I have this kind of paint here. This is very helpful for skin tone. I have 2 brushes, and so I'm gonna paint this here in my car. And yes, the fumes are, there's no fumes. Oh goodness, there's no fumes to be worried about. But one thing I am concerned about is getting ink all over my car because you know how things happen. You know how whenever you work with crazy glue, right? You work with crazy glue, you end up getting crazy glue on everything. So That's what happens. Since I'm not working with Crazy Glue today, I'm hoping that I don't get too many things all covered in ink. So that's why I'm going to be working with gloves. So yes, and, you know, another thing too with gloves is when you work with gloves, it's also a thing where perhaps you can also get that all over your stuff too as well. So I got to make sure that I don't get, I at least have one hand that's not covered and one hand that is. That way I can do that, and I could manipulate the camera and stuff too as well. So you're probably wondering, how am I going to make sure? I'm going to use Big Wipes for liquid. So this is going to be the Big Wipes for liquid, and that's liquid for the tape, for the brushes. And let's go ahead and start this party. So this here is my trusty, trusty. This is the palette paper. This is I love this palette paper stuff. You see how good it is? It's palette paper. I got this jammy at Walmart, and it's not a for Walmart thing, but this is like, hey, how you doing? And so what happens, like, this is a Walmart, and it's like, what it's designed for is to keep the ink as wet as possible, in terms of like not having it dry up. So that's what I'm gonna do there. I have a piece of cardboard paper, because you know the cardboard paper that I use, by the way, is just pretty much the inside of the boxes, and I use that. So I'm just gonna use this to cover it and make sure I don't damage my sheets. Right? I'm gonna have this here. This is gonna be here, and my brushes. So here's my brushes right here. One thing I want to do too, by the way, in the future, is I want to definitely do some charcoal painting. So charcoal painting is something that I would really love to do. I'm gonna have a live class coming up in April. So this is April 24th. We're gonna have live class. I'm gonna have an Eventbrite link for you, and you guys could definitely sign up. If you live here in New York City and you want to meet me in person, you can also meet them. Pretty much the model is going to be modeling for the show. You get a chance to meet that person as well. It's a 2-hour class, and you're gonna learn how to make a person like this in masking tape. So definitely, if you want to learn how to do it, you come join me, okay? You join me in the class, and I'll be able to show you all the cool stuff, how to make masking tape artwork. So here's that. As you can see, that's not a good base right here. Make sure this jammy does not do what it just did a second ago. All right? So she'll be up here. And I will have this right here. This is tape, all right? This is masking tape. And what I'm gonna do, I usually take like a piece right here and I place it. That way I have a basis. But we're gonna go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and do this right now. Okay, let's do this. So this is me using the paint. Thank you for all who are watching. We're gonna go ahead and do this right now. So there's the paint. Paint is sealed, paint is away. Here it goes with the brushes. The brushes are here. The wet one is here. So I'm gonna do that to kind of dampen my brush. Right, it's also dampen it so that I can actually use it to clean it later. All right, let's dampen it. Yeah, I've done a lot of painting in my life. I was a street preacher, right, back in the day. And when I was a street preaching, what I did was that I would actually was part of a ministry that we did preaching in Times Square, and it was really cool. It's actually so you know how people always talk about, like, you have the doom preachers who are up there with like just kind of screaming in doom. Well, we were actually drawing pictures, and we were drawing pictures. It wasn't like doom and gloom. It was actually very, very hopeful. We explained a lot about what the power, what God could do. And we did. We just sit there and talk to people and being able to share with them. And I just absolutely loved just the times where we did that. I love that ministry, actually. I was really sad to be let go from it because we weren't able to raise our support. And that was back in 2004. That was a long, long time ago. 2004. That was around the same time the movie The Incredibles came out. And that movie was very, very good for me. I really enjoyed watching that movie because at that point I had experienced what it was like to work in the insurance company. What it would like to be like a superhero. See, being in ministry is like being a superhero. Okay, it's like, you kind of have that thing where everybody in church respects a missionary. They respect the power of a missionary, even the pastors. And what happens is that they look at it and they're really excited about it. And that they're able to see what you're able to do, and they just love the work that you're doing. So what ended up happening was that we weren't able to raise our money. My wife and I were not able to raise our money for that because, I don't know, it could be a series of factors, but one of it has to do is maybe because, the outward coloring that I have on my skin is kind of one I have to kind of factor in because, apparently when people don't agree what you do, they don't usually agree with what your stance was because they had no problems with any of my belief systems, but they just had a problem with, maybe something else, right? And that's always sad because, my wife and I, we actually loved the ministry that we were in, of street preaching and stuff and talking to people. As a matter of fact, we still do go out sometimes. It's like, and we actually do it. And this has been like an interesting thing for me personally. When I do this stuff, when I work with these things, and I make art, my art has been for me an opportunity to meet people all over the world. And I thank God again for this ability. This is something that, if I didn't have this, I don't know. It's kind of like doing the same thing as was preaching with with a board, with a board message and stuff. And being able to be able to, a board message being like we have easels that we'd use, and we'd have paintbrushes and easel and paint kits and all that. And the paint kits, we would use that to we'd use that I made my paint kit out of plexiglass, and then later I changed the glass to Lexan glass, which is like a bulletproof glass. Not because people are shooting bullets at me, but because Lexan can handle the wind. They can really handle the wind very, very good. See, the thing is this, right? You have to be able to paint and then hold, and then paint and then hold. The thing is, like, when you do something like this art is something that you have to really consider. You have to consider how you're going to hold it, because I'm holding the glove, right? And I have the glove here, but you're wondering how are you going to hold it? How are you going to do this? And you just have to like figure out, well, I'm going to have to do this as best as I can, and then I'm going to have to put a seal on this later too. So I thought, let me just do the painting on this and then see what I'll do. And then after that, I'll be able to kind of manipulate it and do it. I'm going to have to change her hairstyle too, or remove her hair and then reattach it, make it something better. Because it's like right now, it's like, I could see the, right there, this. This is really cool. Now, I'm going to paint her like this. Right, but see, I can only hold so much, so I have to hold her like at her hips, and go from there. So let's do this. From there. She's such an iconic character. She even appeared like in different comic books. She appeared everywhere. I think she even appeared in Scooby-Doo. It's one of those things where I didn't really know her backstory per se of this character, but it was like I didn't know her filmography and where she came from and all that stuff. I didn't even know anything about her current. I just knew that she was very campy, and she had like deadpan humor, and it was just so funny. And it was like the lady from that thing was trying to set her on fire in the movie I saw, because trying to burn her as a witch and stuff. And it was just like, it was just kind of a fun thing, And she's also beautiful and stuff too. But for the most part, though, it was like, you were like, wow, this is actually an interesting person. So I didn't know anything much about her, other than I've just been seeing some in Target. They actually had some toys of her at Target and also at Best Buy. So I was like, what? How come she's so popular all of a sudden? But then I remember from childhood, I saw some of her movies, and her movies were always like fun, and just trying to be the stranger who changes the world kind of thing, how it is. But most of these movies, the stranger who changes the world. So she is what she is, and you know who she is, right? I'm gonna get some more brushes, some more ink. See, so there you go. I did that already, and see, the thing is, it's already like running out of ink. Hi, do this. I said hi. So here's this one here, right there, that. All right, that. So this is acrylic paint, in case you're wondering. This is a acrylic brush, in case you're wondering, and this is made of masking tape. So there you have it, like that. It really comes alive. You don't really see it or know about it, how well it comes alive, until you start to paint. When you start to paint, it's like, oh, I see, kind of a thing. It starts to really come to fruition, So this is something there. See, and you have to kind of make sure you get it right, because if you don't, you're gonna see the seams really quick. So you have that. Yep. So my wife was like, she was explaining to me about like how this her background, because they say one thing that women do is really well is they do the search engine. So she was like, wow. She didn't know much about her life, and she was like, what's the different? So what happened was that we were actually looking into like about her life, because I didn't know all the stuff that she did, So some of the things, the backstories before she was before she got to what do you call it, where she is, her status of what do you call it, her current status as a horror film icon. I never quite knew about it, and so that's the thing. Most people don't know, about these things, and so until you look it up, and then so we looked in Wikipedia and we found out that she had a very interesting life. you know. And she's also good friends with the guy Will Chamberlain. Because when I first saw her movie, it was a movie I saw was when she was in Quartermain and King Solomon's Mine. That's when I saw her the first time, and that was actually I remember watching because there was whole adventure movie things, and Rich Chamberlain was in it, and it was like pretty much she was a damsel in distress, but also like I can't remember the details of it now. It's like been such a long time since I saw it, but it was on television, and she also played the high priest. So she played the main lady, and she also played the main villain in this story, and I was like, oh my word, you know. So anyway, so that was kind of the thing there that I was like, man, who knew, right? Who knew? So then, but anyway, for the most part though, what ended up happening was like just my wife was reading about the information about that, but I don't know. You want me to tell me more about that story, or tell you about the story about like our ministry stuff? I could tell you about that too. Um, but for the most part, yeah. So anyway, so what I was just saying, just end up the other part and then come back to the ministry part, was that there's an aspect of like there's so much to everything. You never know anything about everything, and when you find out about stuff, you have to make a decision at that point. What you're gonna do, it's like imagine like you get into a relationship with somebody and you don't know how bad their family is. It's like you just really don't know. You're just kind of hoping that you get a good person because they seem like a good person, but you don't understand that sometimes good people come from really bad situations, you know real people survive good people survive bad situations, that kind of thing. And so because they do that, people actually think that the people who are there, the parents or something like that, are the ones who made the person what they are. And that's why it's like very interesting thing. People always talk about like in terms of homeschooling. They tell you about how the kid's gonna get socialization and stuff like that. But you start thinking like in a sense nobody could actually determine how you're gonna come out unless you're really isolated. Like it means you're superiorly isolated and you don't have any contact with anybody. I mean, you'd have to have no contact with anybody. And like, for example, I realized how I grew up, right? In my life, how I became what I am as a person. I went to public school, I went to public school. But in public school, I didn't do what the public school, I wasn't out there in classes. I wasn't smoking and drinking and stuff like that in my high school. My parents taught me that, you know what, just come home, make sure you get good grades, make sure you do your best and stuff. When you go to school, don't be a problem for other people, be a blessing. And so it was always that case. I was always had that mindset. There's times where, I knew I was a jerk at times, because who wasn't? But in my case, I was always try to be a better person, try to bring good things to people. So in high school, they used to call me Brother Greg. I was Brother Greg in high school because I was always talking about Jesus. And so they call me Brother Greg. And I was hanging out with the headbangers and stuff like that. And the headbangers and things, they were like constantly trying to like just talking to me about stuff, and I appreciated them actually because they were the ones who introduced me to like Guns N' Roses and Led Zeppelin and stuff, and then to like Aerosmith, and it was during the 90s. It was like during a time with like Stone Temple Pilots and stuff like that, and Pearl Jam, and those guys, and then even Creed. You got to hear some of those guys play. But it was like there was a guy there. He was I won't say his name, but anybody who knows my story from high school knows there was a friend of mine. He was the son of a Lutheran pastor, right? His dad was Lutheran. He was just a headbanger, and he knew so much of the Bible. He just knew so much, and he was so well versed in it. He was like my mentor, believe it or not. He was one of the headbangers, right? And he just knew so much about the Bible, but he didn't apply any of it, right? He just knew it to where he was just kind of living in a, it is the pastor's kid, right? It was the pastor's kid. So I always had a concern a concern and a care for pastor's kids because I always figured, what, they must have it rough, right? Well, sometimes they're just jerks, and that's what happens. Sometimes pastor kids are just jerks, and they just kind of use it as an excuse. But because they want to kind of like just defy whatever dad's doing, kind of thing, or defy whatever their parents are doing to try and bring about this. They want to be free from they want to be free from their parentage or their upbringing because for some reason they think whatever they're doing is better, or how it is. Anyway, so what happened was like the guy was a son of a Lutheran pastor, and he was like a headbanger. And what happened was he and I would go at it, and I didn't even know much of the Bible at that time. I thought I knew a lot. I thought I was all that. But it was actually him. He was the one who helped me to learn more and to do more and to be more. It was kind of like he was the one who challenged me every single day. Like he knew like all the scriptures. He knew it so well. And it was just wasn't applying it. And so what happened was for me, I was trying my best to just learn as much as I can, just to have a conversation with him. And then I would go home and study it. And that was how I learned how to study. That's how I learned how to do a lot of the things in my life, was because there was somebody who challenged me, and I would go home and I would study it. I would study and I would become a better lawyer than the lawyers, you know? And that was my thing. I'd always go home and just learn and learn as much as I could, because I learned that, because I didn't learn it just to learn. I learned it so I could teach it. And they say that's why you learn the best. You learn so you can teach it to others, so you have to understand it so well for yourself that you can teach it to somebody else. So that actually helped me with my teaching career and being able to teach people how to do art and even 3D printing and 3D Blender work, was because I just learned how to communicate complex things simply. You know, I don't know 100% if I always do that, but I know for sure that one of the things is like, I just really enjoy making stuff, and it was like that. But back to the thing with my friend in high school, he was constantly able to, like, in a sense, beat me in argument, right? And I would go home and study every argument he gave me. Like, I remember what he said. I remember, like I would have it in my head. I remember. So I kind of do this a lot when people talk to me. I go over what they say, and I review it. And so, incidentally, by reviewing it so much, I actually understand not only the concepts and the conversation, but also the meaning of stuff. So it's like, you know what, if you ever have an argument with me, right, I will listen to you as you're arguing with me, and then I'm just kind of listening to all your reasoning and what's your motivation behind what you're saying, and understand, like, there's more to it. So I wouldn't just, and I mean, I would I would lose on purpose, okay, just so I could get more information, just so I can understand what you're saying better, so she give me the full context. And that helped me out so much in life, let me tell you, because you understand things not just on the surface. Because sometimes there's people who go right, they lose their lose their poop right away, right? They lose their cool, they go right at it, they become so fidgety and so frighty, like, right quick, that they're able to, like, just get up into a situation. And I don't like that, because you don't know what's around the corner. So sometimes, like, that thing where you have, like, a relationship with somebody, you don't know their family. That's why you should never get married to somebody, like, on the first date. you know that's given. Like they said, like, in Frozen, you don't get married to somebody you just met, because you need to meet their family. You need to, before you commit your whole life, you have to kind of do a lot of research, as much research as you need to spend time, understanding stuff and doing stuff. Because what ends up happening is, you have to know the person, and you're going to be, in a sense, deadlocked to that person until you have to know that person very well. So you need to know as much information about that person. You need to know when they're upset, what they do, the coping mechanism, when they're sad, when they're happy, all these things. You need to know all these things about the person before you commit yourself to a marriage with them. Because, God forbid you wake up the next morning and that person's a psychotic episode. You are in trouble. You are in serious trouble. So my point is, you have to know something. So that's why it's like, to go off the handle when somebody says something is really a fool. The Bible says, "He who answers a matter before he hears it, it's a fool, it's a folly, and a shame." I mean, some things, like, for example, my wife was pointing out to me that I didn't know a lot about this character's life, and maybe if I knew a little bit more, I probably wouldn't have picked this character for a thing. But I just had some good childhood memories. It's kind of like, you have good memories with, like, good memories with, like, Linda Carter or something, and you loved how Wonder Woman was, and you just pretty much, and then you learn something about her later in life, that she hates people or something like that, or she's like, what? And I'm saying that Linda Carter does, because that's not the case. She loves people. But I'm just saying, like, if it was a situation like that where you just find out one of your superhero friends, that people that you like, is just way more different than you didn't know, then you were like, oh man, then you made kind of a blunder there, didn't you? So yeah, kind of a thing. But there's some blunders you can walk away from. Other blunders you can't walk away from. Like, for example, you marry the wrong person, you're gonna feel some pain. You didn't treat your kids right, you're gonna feel some pain. You didn't treat your bully right, you didn't get your schoolwork done right, you're gonna feel some pain. Some mistakes you can walk away from. You get into something with drugs and stuff like that, and all of a sudden now you're in real trouble, because now you're addicted to something, and now you're in a situation where you owe the mob money. If you owe the mob money, you better pay that mob, man. You better figure out how to pay them. You don't want to lose no limbs. Okay, that's how you don't want to lose no limbs to the mob, because the mob, they will take your limbs, make sure you can't work again. So that's kind of the thing. My point is, with all this stuff, what I'm talking about here is just like, make sure you know as much as you can about anything. To what you have to make a serious decision. They say, if it's an urgent decision, you study that thing, and you have to do it. You have to take care of that. You do it. It's like that four square thing. But for the most part, though, you have it where, if you know if you know and you can make a decision, for example, about marriage, you definitely spend time. You find out that what person is happy, person is sad. If you can talk to that person's ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend, you do that. You do that, my friend. You spend time with everybody if you commit yourself to this person, because you know your life is so important. Because you know many people make a bad decision based on feelings, and you can't be making a decision based on feelings. You got to make a decision based on some sound facts. You hear? You got to find something that's true about that person, where that person work, how they handle a coworker, how they handle when they had people who are more powerful than them, how it happened when they had people that are subordinate to them, because that person will treat you like they treat their worst enemy on their worst day if they don't like you, and you're married to that person. In the case of like, you know, I thank God for my wife, thank God for my family. My wife and I had a lot in common before we got married. We had a lot in common. And people talk about opposites attract. That's foolishness, okay? Maybe there's opposites or different ways of looking at stuff, but dang right, you better have a lot of things in common. You can't be married to no bank robber if you want to go rob banks. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're gonna be like a person who does some good stuff in this world, and somebody doesn't want to do good things, somebody wants to be a villain, you know, you can't go wrong. There's like I was watching the Walking Dead, and there's a part in there where these guys were in prison, right? And the guy was like, he was doing something, and he's like, oh, oops, sorry, and he like accidentally just kind of swung the axe at one of the guys. The guy, he was like, oops, I'm sorry, and he says mistake, you know. And after that, he was to open like one door, he opened two doors, and the zombies were coming through. And then it was like finally he threw the zombies onto the person, and he was like, oh, my bad, my bad. He's like, oh, you know, mistakes happen. And the guy was like, hammer to the head. Because you know what happened was like, he realized that this guy does not mean him well. And when you understand a person doesn't mean you well, I know all the verses, right, about how to deal with and how to help people and all these things. But when a person is straight up, outright, don't like you, right, for whatever reason, they do not like you, right? You're just like, you don't know why they don't like you. You can try to find out. Maybe they might tell you, but you don't know their motivation. And that's kind of goes back to say, it's one thing a person doesn't like you and they just keep away from you, or they don't support you, or they don't give you any like super chats or something, right? Because they just don't like you for something, they want to make fun of you. That's one thing. The other thing is that if, for example, you know, you have people who are in your life and they only care to hurt you, that's a whole different thing there too. Because at the end of the day, it comes back to two things, you know. You have to like know yourself, that you know the praises of men is a fickle thing. It really is. When a person praises you, you got to be careful. The Bible says when a neighbor flatters you, he spreads a wide net for your feet, right? When somebody says you're the best whatever, you have to kind of know this, and whatever you do it for God, because God's not going to set you as a trap, okay? When God gives you a skill or an ability, he's not trying to trap you. So that's kind of the thing that happens, you know. He's not trying to trap you. He's not trying to put you in a situation where you're going to mess you up. And that's the thing. When a person sometimes gives you a promotion, sometimes he does to see if you're going to fall or not, you know. They're going to see if they can mess you up. And so I'm just like, man, I don't know, man. So one thing I liked about this character here was when I would watch her shows, she was always like making fun of herself, you know, which you're not really supposed to do. Actually, you're not supposed to make fun of yourself. You're supposed to make fun of things and concepts and idea. They call that self-deprecating humor, where you make fun of yourself. I don't know if that's the thing, but one time my wife and I, or a friend of ours, we went to a comedy club, and the artist up there was making fun of themselves so bad that we actually said, you know, you want us to pray for you, you know, kind of thing, because we were like, you know, they were like just making fun of themselves so bad that you would like, oh, you poor thing, you poor thing. Like, you know, you go to a comedy club and they make fun of you, you know, and you're like, all right, but then they went to a comedy club and they make fun of themselves, and I was just like, dang, yo, is this supposed to be fun? I feel sorry for your dumb butt, you know. I feel sorry for you. You're just so sad. You sad thing. You know, how about, you know, I'm gonna leave now. How's that? Because you just, if you're gonna beat yourself up that bad, I mean, but her comedy wasn't like completely self-deprecating, because in the end she came out as a hero, and she helped the situation, and she made life better for people, you know. And she did a lot. She was actually really cool like that. She was always helping people out and solving problems, and cupcakes and brownies and things. And she just looked weird, but you know, she was cool because her real personality is not really that, it seems, right? It seemed like her real personality is not like the, you know, the slay queen or something like that. You know, her personality was that of just a campy humor, like she'd be like a camp counselor or something like that. You know, like a gym teacher or camp counselor kind of person. So you're just like, they have like a lot of conversations and a lot of things they want to just laugh with you and stuff. But the most part though, it's like, you know, you realize that they mean you well, you know, because you know generally people who mean you bad, they're just generally not nice, right? But people who mean you well, they're pretty good, you know, they're pretty good people. So I had a lot of people that I work with at work, my current work, that I think are really awesome, and so I like them. You know, and some people I used to work with back in the past, they were like people, you know, I never had like a lot of enemies I worked with. I mean, I had like maybe one or two people, and that person would end up leaving because, you know what, for some strange reason, you know, that person would leave or that person would stay, or I would leave. And it was like one of those things where you just like, you know, what can you do? You know, you can't like everybody can't like you. The whole world can't like you. It's just not, that's not how it is. You're not the center of the whole world. I mean, God made the world, and the world isn't like Him. Okay, it's like it's weird. God made the world. God made everything you see, and people don't like God. So, you know, He's the one. Like Jesus even it says in Scripture, He made the world, and the world didn't know Him. He came to His own received Him not. So I mean, like, just imagine that. Imagine you make something, and your thing doesn't like you. Imagine I make this sculpture here. The sculpture's like, I don't like you. But I just made you, you know, kind of thing. But sculpture doesn't like you. So what can you do? He just, you know, I mean, God had it. Jesus had it rough, man. He really did. Because I mean, there's a part in the Bible, the shortest verse in Scripture says, you know, Jesus wept, and if you read the whole context of that passage, it's like he's all talking and like, you know, listen, I could raise him up, you know, and they're just like, you know, he's gonna raise up in the end. He's kind of like the frustrating thing, like, is anybody listening to me, kind of thing, you know, and like that thing in Ragnarok, Thor Ragnarok, right? There's a part where Hela goes and explains everything who she is. And the guy's like, whoever you are, go back where you came from. This is your final. It's like, didn't you hear anything I just said? That kind of thing, you know, where just pretty much, you're like, didn't you just hear anything I just said? And that's kind of the thing, you know, you have that thing where it's like, you have a sculpture, you know, and pretty much, I'm thinking of painting her pinky, like just kind of pinky and the stuff there, but I mean, it kind of does the thing, though. I mean, I'm gonna slice that dress there so her leg can hang out, right? But I'm thinking maybe I should just leave it like that because it's a good optical illusion. But you know who this character is, don't ya? Don't ya? All right, cool. I got a little paint on her side of her head, but I'll fix that. All right, so folks, I just did like a whole painting, 30 minutes, and thank you so much. I mean, please give me a thumbs up in the chat. Let me know, let the world know that my art is a unique art. It's a portable art. I can sit in my car and do this, you know, instead of being at home. I'm like outside my house right now, but pretty much I'm just kind of sitting in the car. I've been in the car all day. Okay, I just been in the car all day because we have the alternate side parking and all that stuff. So I'm just have to like I just you know, let me just sit in my car before I go to work and paint the character from my childhood. You know how it is, right? So yeah, that's where I'm at, and this I'm almost done. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of call it quits. No, I'll soon call it quits. Because what I have to do, I have to just kind of let this person dry. And so I'm going to rest her right here. In the meantime, while she's resting, and, you know, the only way she can, she has no eyes and stuff like that. But it's kind of cool, though. I just, you know, look how cool it is. How cool it is to make this character. So now, here it is, right? So now I have this paint that's been thing, so I'm going to have to dry it off with this baby wipe, right? It's not the best way to get paint out of a brush, but it is a way. And it's a way to get paint out of a brush as much as you can. Right, so show you some more of the sculptures I've been working on real quick while this one is drying, so I can actually do some more work on it. I'm gonna put this here, put this over here. All right, gotta take off this gloves. See, hands are clean, right? So you have that. All right, I was working on this one today because you know what? If you sit in the car all day, you're gonna work on a lot of projects. So this is the one I was working on today, and this is like pretty much considering like one. This is a pretty cool one. Reminds me of those people who we don't speak of kind of thing. Yeah, but it also reminds me of like Ra. But you know, I don't make any idols, so he's not really Ra. He's more like an eagle as opposed to a falcon. So hi, say hi. How you doing? How you doing? Yeah, I've been doing this thing with the joints, and I've been actually making the joints way more flexible, which is pretty cool. That's something there I kind of came a long way to learn. I just had to explain that to you at a class one day if you ever come to one of my classes. Eventbrite. Look me up on Eventbrite. One Life Must Art on Eventbrite. You'll find my art. You can find my work that I can do. I made this character the other day. It's like pretty much, she's almost like a Trent monster. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going with this one, but also somebody's foot. Oh, this is your foot. Okay, your foot came off. I gotta fix your foot. All right, I gotta do a foot surgery on this one. Don't worry about that. Okay. This one here was one I made on another live chat. This one I made the Tharks. It's like a Tharks. It's like, hey, everybody! Like, and wave hi. Hello! It's like a giant bug. Look at me. I'm a bug. I'm like Boba Fett. Not Boba Fett. I'm like Grievous. I'm like General Grievous, y'all. Right, so it's like General Grievous. All right, so folks, I have more stuff, but I'm at the point where I'm just ready to call it quits for the day. So I want to thank you. Here's Deli to say hey. Deli's like, hello, I'm Deli. Okay, so there's Deli. And, yeah, so we're actually looking at doing a casting call for some people want to be models as well. If you want to be a model, let me know. If you want to, like, pretty much, be part of the thing that we work on, we have different modeling opportunities. But yeah, so this is the sculpture that I made. This is the one that I made here. Just want to show you this one here. And this is, you know who this is. You know my name. You know my name. What's her name? You know her name. What's her name? You know my name. Okay, so you know her name. So there you have it. And I want to say thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching me do this masking tape artwork and also masking tape painting. I'm going to let her dry. Probably do some more painting on her later. But for the most part, I want to say thank you for joining me today. So, again, you know my name.